All right, hey, today we're talking about gut health. I'm Dr. Aaron Tressler and this is Dawnette Baker. This is going to be the Dawnette show today. She's going to talk about gut health and why this is so important. So we're going to dive right in. We're going to be very quick today, about 20 minutes, and very precise on what we're covering. So if you need to take notes, take notes. If not, just listen, go back over later, and learn and apply these steps. So let's jump right in. Why gut health? Why is the gut? I mean, we hear this, the gut, the terrain. Why is it so important?
It's so important. I didn't know that. Growing up or raising my kids, I didn't have any idea how important the gut was. So you've heard me say that I was the mom feeding my kids what I thought was a healthy diet of wheat breads and brown rice and all the good foods that I bought the expensive lunch meat at the butcher. I didn't buy it at the grocery store. I thought I was doing the right things. And then I got slammed with a diagnosis of leukemia with my 8-year-old. So it was at that time that I started to research and try to find out what is real health. Real health meaning not needing to depend on drugs, not needing mechanical support, not needing intervention, real health. And my research, it just shocked me. Everything pointed back to the gut. Everything was pointing to gut health. And what I learned was a lot of researchers believe that about 90% of all diseases and problems literally begin in our gut. I didn't even really know what my gut was. I had never thought about it unless I had an upset stomach or I was trying to lose weight. I didn't even think about what my gut was.
So we think that the gut, the stomach, is this holding tank. We throw it in, and somehow magic happens later on that our Snicker bar or our fruit roll-ups turn into muscle tissue and organ tissue and health tissue. We don't, I mean, it's more than that.
It is so much more than that, and I didn't know. So digestion actually, well, begins in our brain when our brain tells us to have an appetite and that we need to eat. But digestion, a large part of it occurs in our mouth. So God put these teeth in here for a reason. Your stomach cannot recognize a giant chunk of a hamburger and bun in your stomach. That's not how our body works. So you need to chew your food. When Grandma used to tell you, chew your food 20 or 30 times before you swallow it, she was right. But we don't listen. We're fast-paced. We're always in a hurry. And we really need to do that. Now your stomach.
So step one, chew your food. Write that down.
Yes, because
that's one of my weaknesses because I'm always on the go, but I've had to learn slow up.
Right. Well, I think so many people are. And your saliva it begins to digest your food in your mouth. The amylase enzyme in there begins to break the carbohydrates down before you even swallow it. And we can't go through every organ and every part of our digestive system, but we are going to talk about a few. The next one will be our stomach. Like Dr. T said, it's not a holding tank for your Snicker bar. It really is a place for the food to be ground up. It gets sanitized there. We have this stuff in our gut, in our stomach called hydrochloric acid. And that is what kills bacteria that's on your food, parasites that are on your food, all the things that your body doesn't really want. But what we do as Americans is the whole time we eat, we guzzle a big glass of soda or water or whatever it is, and we're flushing that hydrochloric acid that we need to break the food up.
So let's say the food has some bacteria or some bugs on it. Let's say I pick healthy lettuce from my garden. And there could be bugs. I mean, we see that when we wash them. They go into the stomach. If I don't allow that stomach to churn it and kind of destroy it with this acid, that's what it's doing. It's killing that stuff, correct? Then it will go further into my intestinal system, which is dangerous. So, okay, so
it's a defense mechanism.
Thing number 2, don't drink water while you're having your meal. I guess we need a little sip here and there, but and especially not soda and these sweetened teas. And I mean, we're guzzling the big gulps that it's more than you should have in a week. So
I ask my kids to try to drink about 20 minutes before they eat and 20 minutes after they eat, and then just have a sip or two if you need to wash it down. Yeah. So it really isn't we're not meant to be drinking that way. Then we should talk about our liver, which is something that we need to be teaching our children to love and nourish. We need to talk about it past 8th grade health because it matters so much. Your liver is the filter for your body. So you work on cars. What if you don't change the filter? What about your
Clogs up.
HVAC system? What if you don't change the filter in your house? It's a problem. So our livers are taking the blood after your food goes through your small intestine, and the nutrients get absorbed out of there. Now that blood from your digestive system goes to the liver to get cleaned. So it's a filter that is going to pull out chemicals. It's going to break down any drugs that you take. Your liver is a powerful organ that we don't think about, and fundamental for breaking down fats, because our bile is produced there. So these are concepts that we need to understand if we want to be able to build gut health.
So what would happen? So let's say I'm eating a lot of non-organic food. A lot of foods have been sprayed with pesticides and chemicals and just garbage. The liver is getting just overloaded with this. So and we don't think of our liver as being, we think of it as being alcohol, but not
Yes.
food. We don't think of it, we may think of it as medication or drugs, but not food. So the liver is part of the digestive system because it's filtering out what's left over. It gets transferred into the blood
Yes.
from the food, the chemicals, and then the liver has to cleanse it. So if the liver keeps getting dumped with this, it's breaking down, can lead to fatty liver.
Sure it is. Well, there was never a diagnosis in the medical community called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And today we're seeing estimates of 40% of the population has that. So before the 1980s, there wasn't even a thing called non-alcoholic fatty liver. So, but it really is kind of like cirrhosis, and we're doing it to ourselves because of chemicals. Dr. Tressler just mentioned pesticides, chemicals, antibiotics in the food. The liver wasn't meant, when God made our body, it wasn't meant. It was meant to process out leftover pathogens from nature, not man-made chemicals and substances. So as we're putting so much of that in our bodies, it just is overloaded.
I remember learning in school, in chiropractic school, that the liver can function with about 60% death. And I don't know if that's correct. I remember hearing something like that, that you can, without symptoms. So that's where, I've had family members of alcoholism, and they drink so much, but there's no symptoms until they're very late stages. And the liver just says, I've had enough. I can't do it anymore.
Yes.
And that's the same as chemicals, foods, pesticides, all the junk in the food as well.
That is the case.
Okay.
And a lot of natural docs say that the liver and the colon, that if you can clean those up, that you really can change the state of your entire body. So those two areas, and we don't have to go into the small intestines, which is where all of your nutrients are absorbed. So that long 20-foot tube, that's where everything important that your body needs gets absorbed from. And see, what we've done in the United States is we've started to say, oh, does that taste good? That's what I want to eat. Oh, I am visiting with a girlfriend today. We're going to eat lunch, or we're going on a date. We're going to eat dinner. We don't ever talk about what I want to put in my mouth is for the vitamins, the nutrients, the minerals, the enzymes. We've gotten away from that. And I think if your patients can get back to thinking that way, that they can see a big change in their health.
Yeah, we would never ever go to the gas pump and put half gas, half water.
Right.
Or throw, if I had an extra soda, I'm like, I'm not going to drink this. Let me pour it in my gas tank. You would never do that. We would never do that to our dogs and cats.
No.
Or if we had a pet lizard, we wouldn't give them a little jar of Coca-Cola. We would look at that and say, what are you going to, you're going to poison my animal. What are you
15
doing?
teaspoons of sugar.
But then we down it.
Right.
And is it true that if you don't eat, if you let it wash through, or if you're taking medication that doesn't allow those allow the acid to break the food down, and you're getting chunks of food into the small intestine, that now you're taxing the intestine that wasn't meant to digest food.
It wasn't meant to digest.
And it starts to get worse and break down. We see a tremendous amount of patients, and this is all the way, acid reflux as early as a few weeks old, but tremendous amount of young patients. I was one of them when I was growing up, with irritable bowel and acid problems and stomach issues and constipation and diarrhea. And we don't even go back to look and say, let's stop putting the junk in, start putting the good things. So
right, and then even on top of that, I would say to build gut health starts in pregnancy with a mom. So the mom's gut health is going to be passed on to the baby, and Emily's going to be doing a
talk on Thursday.
Right,
yeah.
on Thursday at 7:15.
7:15.
Right, so Emily's going to talk about what is it?
I'm not sure. Pregnancy. She's a doula, and it's just that the whole health of a mom gets, like you said, gets transferred into the baby. That's coding the baby's system, genetic system, DNA to be programmed later.
Yes.
We know that kids that are overweight or obese have a real high tendency to be obese later on in life. So we need to start looking back and saying, how do we, not just with our gut health, but the things you're going to learn today. Remember, chew your food. I had to learn that. Don't drink lots of water.
Right.
Eat foods that are cleaner. Just start with some organic, or even if the meats, when they say no antibiotics, that's better.
That's
a
huge.
Start.
Yes, that's a big start. And I would change your meats first. If you're a big meat eater, I would say the antibiotics in the meat kill the good bacteria in your gut. So an antibiotic is not intelligent. It doesn't know if it's a good bacteria or a bad bacteria. So when you're eliminating the bacteria in your gut with antibiotics, then you're decreasing your immune system. And lots of other things, because we know for sure that our digestive tract is related to every other system in our body. It affects our brain, our mood, it affects our cardiovascular system.
Yeah. And you see it with kids. I mean, if we give our kids ice cream, or if they come back from a friend's house and they were, at a birthday party eating lots of sugar and junk and not sleeping much, they're miserable. Mm-hmm. They're miserable. So, and we're going to be talking in a couple weeks on, we're going to get a little deeper into this on the foods we should eat. We have to eat. We want you to leave today with a few key concepts. You can't be overwhelmed with 10 things. Right. You've got to start next time you go and you're sitting at a meal, put a piece of bite in it, a bite of food in, and think, I'm going to chew this thing. I'm learning to do that because I'm a fast guy. I want to go. I'd rather blend my meat and just drink it just to get it over with. But I've had to learn to do this, and I don't drink while I'm eating. And can I say something too about the meats? Yeah. We raise organic cow, so they're just grass fed. They're having a blast right now because of all the green grass. They're out there just eating grass, and it's never been touched, never been sprayed. Imagine a cow in a field that these fields are sprayed over and over. Well, they're not just eating one salad like this. They're eating thousands and thousands and thousands of salads. Where do all those chemicals go? They can't be processed through the liver. Right. They're going to go get all through the meat, and the meat is going to be just overwhelmed, just crushed with so many pesticides and herbicides and chemicals that when you cut a piece of steak and you put that down, it's all through there. Whereas an organic meat, so you start with no antibiotics, start moving toward the organic side, because it's a whole dump on the cow.
That's another whole video.
That's a whole video.
How to choose meat. How are we doing?
Let me do this. Can I cover something here that ties exactly in with you, and then you can finish with maybe a couple key points on pulling this together.
Maybe.
Good, supplements. So when we look at this from my standpoint too, and this is what happened with me, and I see this with just hundreds, maybe thousands of patients, is some of them are on a pretty good diet. They're eating very clean food. They exercise. They don't drink water. They know some of these things, yet their gut is horrible. And there's a nerve that comes out of the neck. It's called the vagus nerve. It's the wandering nerve. It travels all through, I don't know if you can see this poster, it travels all through the inner organs, to your lungs, to your heart, to your stomach, to control acid for digestion. And you also have in the tracts, you have what's called peristalsis. This is a muscular wave. It's like a massage that is pushing the food particles out. And what controls the muscular wave is the nerve system. And if the nerve system is suppressed, your muscular wave of eliminating is going to get stagnant. And if you imagine this, if you have a stagnant pond that doesn't have a lot of water in and out, it just sits there, what happens to it? It's disgusting. Algae forms and animals start to die because there's no life to it. You need to eliminate. Well, the vagus nerve can get suppressed by this. Poor posture. We're sitting at the computer, we're on our phones, we're slumping, and we're out of alignment. So they talk about vagus nerve stimulation. They're putting vagal nerve stimulators, surgery on the nerve to stimulate the nerve, while we can do this with an adjustment. So when a patient comes in and they're having all these bowel issues, we know that there's a few options here. One, I have to look at, is their spine and alignment working properly? Because if that's not working, you can dump all the good food in, and it's only going to work to the level that the stomach can digest. So when we look at that, we do an exam, we do an X-ray, we look at alignment to see if there's a connection. And when we find that connection and actually start to adjust and start to give you exercises, change your posture and position, that vagus nerve starts to function again, the organs can begin to function. And
peristalsis, just so if you don't understand what that is the natural movement of the bowels to push waste out of your body, which is so important. If
extremely,
this isn't on bowel movements, this video, but if you're not doing that every day, you've got to talk to Dr. Tressler about that, because that's the only way to get toxins out of your body.
yes.
Those particular ones in your digestive tract.
Well, what's so cool about our stomach, and when we eat an apple, we don't have to go sit in a room and think about digestion or take a supplement to make sure it digests, or a drug. Our body knows how to do that.
Amazing.
Innately. It just knows, and it pulls it. How does carotene, the beta carotene in a carrot, the elements in the carrot that goes to your eye, those say, well, your eye needs more of that. How does your body know that? It's innately through the nerve system that nutrients are being extracted, put to where they need to go all through the body, and this is done through the nerve system.
Right, and with that point, if your gut's not healthy and it's not working the way it should, you are not going to pull those nutrients out. So if your spine isn't right, if your proper enzymes and the things that need to happen in your gut are not happening, you can't absorb those nutrients, which is why we see Americans walking around that are malnourished.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
I remember learning that, I'll just end here and then you can finish up, is the peristalsis, the muscular wave. One, exercise will help that too, so you need to be moving, but a muscular contraction is automatic. It's the autonomic nerve system. You can't make your heart beat. It beats automatically. Your lungs breathe, transports oxygen automatically. When I heard this years ago at a nutritional seminar, that the bowels, the colon, should be about a hose size, like a garden hose type. They can get this big. Why would they get that?
14 inches.
14 inches. So I don't know how big that is. Probably about 12. 14 inches in diameter. And there's still a hole in the middle to eliminate, but that's packed with old petrified food. And you're toxic. If you don't eliminate that, and that's not going to come with, well, I'm just going to do a detox. I'm going to take a detox pill or a fiber. It's a slow process of all of that. Exercise, nutrients, supplements, cleansing, water, chiropractic. So
there's no magic pill.
There's
no magic remedy for any of this. It's a system of putting things together, like exercise, chiropractic, food. These things have to all work together.
And that's long-term immunity.
Yes.
We're going through this crisis right now that we don't want to get this virus. We look and say, well, what's the next virus?
Yeah.
What about diabetes and heart disease? What about cancers? What about stroke and cardiovascular, other types of cardiovascular disease? It affects everything. If your gut goes, you go. If you're prone to sickness because you have a bad gut, the next virus coming, you're going to be hit with it. So what are some ending points that we can
the ending
top
points
this
I
off
would
with?
say is take a good probiotic.
Probiotic.
I believe, and I'm not a big supplement pusher, but what I do believe is that all of us are going to need a probiotic for the rest of our lives. As soon as you go into a restaurant and drink tap water, you have chlorine killing the good bacteria in there. You need to get on a good probiotic, and Dr. Tressler has some of those here. I would also say that what's really good for your small intestine and the lining to make that strong, we don't want toxins getting out into the body. We want them to stay in and pass through and out. And aloe vera juice can really help strengthen the small intestine. So you could take a supplement or you could drink it. I know you have put that in your water, right? Did you tell me you do that?
Yeah.
I thought so. Turmeric, that's another herb that helps to build healthy bacteria in the gut. It encourages healthy bacteria. So, and then the last one will be enzymes. Now, food like papaya is naturally high in enzymes. So you can eat some of that if you have a little bit of digestive upset. But I would say come in and talk with us about enzymes, because they're so vital to life. And if you're not breaking down your food, you can spend all the money that you want on organic food or healthy meat. If your body can't break it down and absorb it, it's doing you no good.
Right.
It's just an expensive You know,
Yeah,
that's waste.
and we go into health stores or like a GNC or Whole Foods or any natural food store. There's a whole shelf of vitamins. When I first got into this, I looked at the vitamin world and it's overwhelming. And you think, well, I'll start with this one. So we do some specific. We narrow it down. Donette does some testing and just some evaluation of your life or your health.
Right.
I remember reading that one antibiotic can ruin gut health for up to about a year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so we all haven't, but a lot of us have been on antibiotics. Our kids have been on antibiotics, or on antibiotics once a year. We don't think any big deal, but that means we never build proper gut health.
Right, we don't rebuild. We don't focus on rebuilding.
So it's just completely annihilated. And then year after year, if this starts when you're 3, 4, or 5, when you're 25 or 35, boy, your immune system is shot. Now you're not going to have an upset belly. Now your chances of getting cancer or a chronic disease is getting greater. So I hope that helps, and we're going to try to keep these a little shorter and keep a few points that you can leave on. Chew your food, don't drink water. The four supplements were probiotic,
Probiotics,
enzymes, turmeric, what was
and
it?
aloe vera.
Aloe vera, yeah, and not the aloe vera plant. Don't just break it. Suck it. Go to a health store and get it. It's great. Exercise and chiropractic. Watch your posture. So if you have questions, just please send them to us. If you have questions you would like answered on an upcoming show, just let us know. We'll add those in. Any comments? If you would like to have an evaluation or sit down with us, just give us just a shout out here on Facebook. Call our office. We'd be glad to help. So
and tune in to see Emily on Thursday at 7:15.
Thursday 7:15. If you're pregnant, ever been pregnant, if you want to be pregnant,
your daughter is going to become
your
pregnant.
daughter, your kids, tune in. She's got some really important factual information that will just change your life. So God bless. Have an amazing day.
Amazing day.